One. Hello and welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis, and today, for the second time, I'm very grateful and very humbled to be joined by Sandy Forster. I say second time because we've had internet dramas for the last couple of hours, but we're here now. We're doing it again. So Sandy is an author. She's a speaker. She has the book How to Be Wildly Wealthy Fast. It has been translated through 11 languages and it's been banned as well because it was so empowering. I've read the book in the last couple of months and it's changed my mindset around money and around wealth. Sandy's done so much. There's a whole list of things here, from Oprah to Oprah's Aussie Secret. She loves inspiring and empowering women to break through their blocks, attract abundance, and experience time and money freedom to do the things that make their hearts sing. I love that message. Sandy, welcome to my show today. How are you going? And let's get stuck into what's going on with people's mindset around money and how can the average Joe change their mindset around money to attract abundance?
Good question. And thank you for having me, Nathan. I really appreciate it. I love to spread the word about how to create abundance in your life. I think for most people, the problem is they actually don't understand how easy it is to create abundance. They're out there doing. They're taking all the actions. They're busy, whether that's in a business, whether that's in a job. But the bottom line is it all comes down to your mindset. And I discovered that myself because I was $100,000 in debt and on welfare. I was getting it's about $15,000 a year from the government to survive, which you can't survive on that. So basically I was going backwards financially every year. And I discovered the law of attraction. I discovered neuroscience. I discovered that it didn't matter what your past circumstances were, what your education was, your age was, what didn't matter any of that. It just comes down to what you think about, what you focus on, where you put your energy, what actions you're taking. And when you align all of those things, magic can happen. So as I said, I love teaching people that when you change your mindset, your entire world can change.
And you're a testament to that too. As you said, you're $100,000 in debt, which you're very open about in your book as well. And not a lot of people are very open about money. It's not something that people generally talk about out there in the world either, is it?
It's embarrassing. Like because I think the problem is most people think the rest of the world has their act together when it comes to money. But I think it's a dirty little secret that most people actually don't. They look fantastic on the outside, but a lot of people are really struggling behind the scenes. They're trying to pay their mortgage. They're trying to keep up with the car payments. They're trying to, go on their holidays. They're trying to look like everything's great. And so it really is for me, I think it's a combination of, yes, mindset, but then it's also a combination of taking those practical steps and those practical actions to make sure that how you're managing your money is in alignment with what you can actually afford at the time. It's all very nice to think big and dream grand. And, when I was $100,000 in debt and on welfare, all I could think about was being a millionaire. Like that was my number one goal because I knew millionaires didn't have to clean their own houses. And it's one thing I hate doing, it's cleaning. So I just wanted to be a millionaire to get someone into my house to clean. And so for me, I knew that I felt like I'd been born into the wrong life. Not that I'm an extravagant person. The things I love are having a nice house and being able to travel and having choices and just being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. To me, that's bliss. And so, and there's nothing wrong with wanting cars and jewelry and birds and I don't know, whatever else people buy. Nothing wrong with that. Everyone has their own dream of what it means to be wealthy. But for me, it's about experiences and it's about just living a really lovely life. And so when I was $100,000 in debt and on welfare, I just felt like what I thought I'd been thrown into the wrong life. It was like, universe, fix this up. Once I discovered there was a thing as the universe and that I had the ability to kind of change things within the universe. And that's when things got exciting. That's when I realized that through my actions, through my thoughts, through my feelings, I had the ability to put in an order to the universe, that I had the ability to shift things in the quantum field. And when you start to do that, that's when magic can happen.
And for someone that's just watching this, because I do a lot of work around, or listening to, I do a lot of work on the subconscious as well with people. That's sort of what I base my coaching around. So they're unconscious thoughts and unconscious feelings, aren't they? It's all unconscious going on outside of
Exactly.
our own conscious awareness. Yeah,
It's behind the scenes, but that is the thing that is running our life. We
correct.
think our conscious thinking mind is, that's where everything happens. No, it's what's happening behind the scenes that is either allowing us to create the success that we want, or it's stopping us. It's sabotaging us. It's like messing everything up. And the great thing is we have the ability to change the wiring in our brain. We have the ability to change how we think consciously, which can also, we have the ability to change how we think subconsciously. And that's when everything starts to change on the outside.
Yeah, and so what did you do? So when you're $100,000 in debt and you're just full of fear, you're full of worry, you're full of stress, like all of that puts out a signal to the universe of, well, we're going to give you more of that. So how were
Yeah,
you able to flip that script and change those, like that's a deep fear, deep worry, and a lot of stress. So how did we able to
it
change your
is.
thoughts and habits around that?
So yeah, you're right. $100,000 in debt and on welfare. So $15,000 a year, and then you've got to live on that. There's no way that you could actually pay back that $100,000. So to
No.
me, there was a lot of stress, a lot of shame, because none of my friends knew I was $100,000 in debt.
No.
And I don't even know that they knew I was actually on welfare. Like, it was just the most embarrassing thing to be someone like a normal adult, but not being able to actually cope financially. It was just, oh, it was the pits.
Yeah.
And I was very stressed. I say at that time I was a real crummy mummy. I had a very short fuse. I used to yell at my kids. And for me, I think that's the driving force now. I love the fact that I can transform other people's lives so that they can be the best they can be, and obviously the best parent they can be, and live the best life they can live. So for me, once I discovered the law of attraction, because I was always very much into positive thinking. I loved thinking
Oh.
positively, but that's kind of all I knew. It's like, don't think negative, think positive. So whilst I loved the idea of thinking positive, I think I was a very negative person, because I remember having a swimwear store. I would design and manufacture swimwear here on the Sunshine Coast. That's how I got up to be $100,000 in debt. And because I really wasn't a business person, I don't even know why I started. I think I just liked the sewing aspect and buying nice colored lycra. But for me, what happened was I was in that place where I was really struggling. I was $100,000 in debt. I decided that I wanted to do something different. I discovered the law of attraction, and that took positive thinking to a whole new level. Suddenly, I realized, because I not only discovered the law of attraction, I understood that there was a science behind it. And I think a lot of people, when they maybe first discover the law of attraction, they hear about it, they just think it's some woo-woo concept. It's
Yeah.
just some, some hippie, new age, fun thing. But there is actually a science behind it. And I was actually on a call. It was on something, not Telegram. It was some platform where there was these quantum scientists actually having a discussion. And I jumped in on that call because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. They're going to talk about law of attraction and blah, blah, blah. And literally everything they said went straight over my head. Like, they were absolute scientists that talked like in a different language. But at one stage, one guy said something that just made my heart sing. He said, we live in a really, really exciting time, because science and the metaphysical is finally merging, and it's actually meeting, and we're able to quantify things about the metaphysical with science. And I was like, yay. But so for me, when I first discovered the law of attraction, it was like, oh my gosh, we actually have the ability to create our life based on how we think and how we feel. So I decided, I mean, when you think about it, I'm $100,000 in debt and on welfare, and I can focus on what that is like, and focus on the struggle that I had every day, and focus on how I'd have to say no to my kids for everything they asked, whether it was to have tuck shop at school or whether it was to have an ice cream when we were out shopping. Like, it was always a no for everything because it just had no money. So I had the choice to focus on that or focus on what I really wanted. So it was beyond just positively thinking. It was about focusing on how I would like my life to be. So I did exactly that. It was like, how did I want my life to be? I wanted to have a beautiful house that I owned, that people couldn't put the rent up for or couldn't kick me out or couldn't say, no, you can't paint that wall. I wanted to have a car that actually drove and didn't leak so much that when it rained, a plant would grow in the back of it. I wanted to be able to travel. Like, I just love traveling. I just wanted freedom and choices. And so I started to focus on that. And so for me, I love getting lost in that. It's make-believe, but you're actually making it. So it might seem make-believe, but you are creating it. So I love getting lost in that world. I love thinking about my house and my new car and the places I would travel. And so I spent a lot of time visualizing. I did affirmations. I created so many different processes. That's actually why I wrote How to Be Wildly Wealthy Fast, because there were so many different things that I created and did that worked for me. I wanted to share them with everyone. But I just constantly did something every single day, and not just once. Like, I didn't do it for 2 minutes in the morning and then the rest of the day focus on how I was $100,000 in debt. I would do something. For instance, I had this kind of office works book that had plastic sleeves in it. And in every page, I created something. I had an affirmation on one page, then I had a picture of me surrounded by money on another page, and I had a abundance declaration on the next page. And so what I would do is I would put it on my kitchen bench. And every time I walked past that, I would open it up and do what was on that page. So instead of having to put aside hours of the day, having to meditate and journal and, do all these different things, just throughout the day for a minute or two, I was always doing something. When I got up to have a drink of water, walk past it, flick it open, do what's on that page. When I got up to hang out the washing, walk past it, flick it over, do on the next page. When I came back in from hanging out the washing, walk past, flick it over, do the next page. So I was always doing something that started to retrain and rewire my mind to focus on the abundance that I truly wanted, to focus on the prosperity, to focus on that life that was so different from what I was living, but just felt so exciting. And so it felt so doable and possible, even though I had no clue how it would happen. It just felt amazing thinking about it. So obviously, thinking about how my life was, $100,000 in debt, thinking about how I wanted my life to be, this amazing experience, I was always focusing on how I want it to be. And I think for me, that's what made the difference, because a lot of people learn the law of attraction. They learn about abundance. They learn about, all the different processes, and they do a quick visualization in the morning and that's it for the rest of the day. And then they're just thinking about how bad their life is or how crap their job is or how they hate their spouse. Like, they just don't put enough energy in it. And it's like anything. If you wanted to lose weight, you wouldn't eat a healthy breakfast and then eat crap the rest of the day, because it's not going to work. So it's the same with manifesting money. You've got to just consistently be kind of being aware of what your thoughts are, where your feelings are, and what actions you're taking. And when you align all of them, again, that's when the magic happens.
It's so true. And and all of that is in your book, and you were really open and honest about that. Even like your parenting too. Like, you even said in that book, you're like, yep, I said no to, and then you would be like, oh, I felt like in one part of the book, you're like, I felt my daughter's sadness of me saying no all the time. Like, you were really open and honest in that book. So not many people are about money, which is why I was so drawn to that book, because you were an open book in that book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Well,
so
the thing
true.
is, if you only show the shiny, glitzy, look what I've done side of it, then people think, because people know their own shadows, they know their own mistakes, their own flaws, and then they look at everyone else being glitzy and fabulous, like, social media, and then they think there's something wrong with them. But in actual fact, everyone's got crap going on, and everyone's, got some area that they're struggling in. And if I was able to share all the bad stuff that happened, and how I turn that around and how you can turn it around too, then I feel like my job's done. So that's why I love to share the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really inspiring. I was also going to ask you another question too. So if you always love the thought, like what were you sort of watching, or back then probably not watching, but maybe what were you sort of consuming around that and learning about the law of attraction? Was it like a mentor, or was there someone there, or was it even just, I don't know what you did in the early 90s, but watch videotapes of something? Like, what was it that you were what were you using to learn about this stuff, is what I'm sort of asking you.
Honestly, back in the 90s, it was books only. Like
Yeah.
really, that was all it was. And then occasionally it was a tape.
Yep.
So it was like a Wayne Dyer tape or something like that. And in the late 90s, I went to a meditation retreat and
That's
learned how to
right. Yep.
meditate for the first time. And that was primordial sound meditation with someone who'd been trained by Deepak Chopra. And I've been trained in that myself now.
Oh,
And
cool.
so, yeah. And I love meditation because whilst I tell everyone that the law of attraction is what transformed my life, I came to realize that meditation was a massive part of that, because meditation is kind of like, I kind of like to give people the picture. There's you here on the planet and out there in the universe, even though it's not like this, but out there in the universe, there's a pipe between you and the universe. And the universe is trying to, you have a thought, an idea, something you want to manifest. The universe is trying to give you a signal, a sign, trying to help you to move toward what it is you want, tell you what to do, where to go. And what happens is with that pipe is clogged. It's got kinks in it. It's full of gunk. And I always say meditation is like the pipe cleaner. If
Yeah.
you can learn to meditate, that cleans out the pipe, and then you're able to actually get guidance. And I'm not saying, there's a voice booming down from the heavens saying, Sandy, go and do this. It's just that you get an inkling of
Yeah, you
something you
do.
should do. And it's stronger if you are meditating, because meditating really clears that static out between you and the universe. And so meditation, back then I was meditating every day. And I guess the biggest change for me was when I actually discovered the law of attraction. And that was simply by what happened. I hated my life. I was I was divorced. I had 2 kids. I was $100,000 in debt and on welfare. I was really struggling. And I came across an ad in the paper. It was just this tiny little, like 1 inch by 1 inch, 2.5 centimeter ad that had a couple of words that just completely jumped off the page at me. One of the words was personal development. Well, that's 2 words. No, it's 1 word.
Yes.
1 word. Personal. Oh no, it's 2 words. Personal development.
Yeah.
So personal development. The other word was money. Ching. And the other was, well, this is more than 3 words. The other was strong work ethic.
Yep.
And I was like, I love personal development. I love money. I can work hard. And so I looked into it, and that was a course on the law of attraction. So I was actually promoting a course on the law of attraction. And that was when my mind was completely blown. That was when it was like, oh my gosh, this is not only something that I could get my teeth into, because I love personal development, but this is a thing, law of attraction. And then the bonus of that was I was actually marketing that course and making money. So I loved that whole thing. So being able to make money from doing something I loved, that really gave me the first taste of being able to make really good money and just loving what I was doing. And I remember going to a seminar for that business, and we had to write down, if we were going to be successful, you had to write down what you would do during your day. Like what would be your ideal day? Like if you could create your ideal day, what would it be? And I went back to my room that night and I wrote down, I get up in the morning and I would meditate. I would do some yoga. I would go for a run down the beach. I would probably have a swim, come back, eat something healthy, take the kids to school. Then I'd talk to people about personal development. I'd listen to some audios. And I realized in that moment, as I was writing down this ideal day, I actually burst out crying, because I realized that I'd actually written that exact same thing down earlier. I don't know how long. It might have been 6 months. It might have been a year, but I'd written it down earlier. And I'd said to my friend, oh, if I was living this ideal life, I'd never be making any money. Like there's no time to actually work. And yet here I was living the ideal day, but making the best money I'd ever made. So,
Wow.
it's magic. I always say there's magic between the pen and the mind. You've got to write things down. Don't just think about it, write it down, because that's where the magic can happen.
Yeah, that's something I've gotten better at doing as well, is writing that stuff down. Like since I started my journey and all this stuff about 3 years ago. So yeah, writing stuff down is really, really big for me as well. So that was really, really awesome advice. I was going to switch gears and ask you another question. From the coaching I do, so I help people overcome their self-sabotage, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all of them in sort of a coaching session, which is what I do, which people, my listeners and followers will know. And I find that a lot of people are afraid of success, and that is afraid of having money. So that's an unconscious belief too. Could be due to childhood factors, all sorts of factors in that. What is your experience with that? And do you have, or do you think or feel that people are afraid of having heaps of money because they're of a poverty mindset, which sounds harsh, but it's true.
It's totally true, because I was living that myself. Because what happens is our brain is wired for survival. That's it. Survival. That's the only thing. So when we've lived a certain way all our life and then we think we want something different, the reason it often doesn't happen, it's not because we're running around thinking, I don't really want that. It's that our survival mechanism is saying, hang on a minute, this is something new. It's something different. Different could actually mean death. Different could mean that this is trouble. And that all goes back to like caveman days when, you ate a different plant, you could die. You saw a tribe that was different to yours, you could die. You could, an animal that you hadn't seen before and didn't know what would happen, you could die. Like it's all, and we're wired that way. So even though we want more, we want abundance. Like for me, I wanted to be a millionaire. But when I started to actually manifest money, all these things started to happen. Like I can't remember the exact things, but things like my washing machine broke down and my dishwasher blew up and a molar cracked in half and cost me thousands to fix. Like all these different things happened that even though I started to make more, it was all going out again. And it wasn't at a conscious level. I was saying, oh, I've got more money. Let's get rid of it all. Subconsciously, my entire being was going, this is new. We're not used to this. We've got to kind of fix the equilibrium here. Let's move this out of your life. So for anyone that wants more and is struggling to get it and can't understand why, again, it comes back to working on your mindset over and over. Because I found for me, the thing that was stopping me from creating more abundance in my life was the fact that it kind of goes back to when I was at school. I think it was in grade 1 or 2. And this incident happened with gingerbread men, taking them to school, or no, going to school, the teacher saying something about who wants to take these gingerbread men home and cook them, put my hand up, took them home, came back the next day, and the teacher freaked out because we were supposed to cook them and bring them back to the class, and I didn't. I thought we were supposed to eat them, and my family ate them, and we all thought we were supposed to eat them. Anyway, she got me in the corner. She smacked me, and I was so shy. So I'm suddenly highlighted in front of the class. I was crying my eyes out. I was just beside myself because I was a good girl, and suddenly I'd done something really bad. So she sent me home. I had to walk home by myself, which I'd never done before, with a note for my mum, and mum had to go out and buy all these gingerbread men. But basically what had happened was I had been wired in that moment very, very strongly that, you know what? It's not safe to have more. It's not safe to have more than your share. It'll just, not only will it be taken away from you, but you could be in major trouble. So for many years, I never realized that. it didn't really come up, but it wasn't until probably, in the last 10 years, even after I had created my wealth, it started to dawn on me, because I was still having things happening now and again that I would sabotage. A big opportunity would come and I'd completely cut it down, and I just couldn't understand what was happening. And I realized that was the thing. So everyone's got something that they've experienced when they're young. It could be something as little as you're going through the checkout with your mum and you're a little boy and you say, oh, I love that little car. Well, it could be a little girl, but anyway, let's say it's a little boy who sees a little car and says, oh, can I have that car, mum? She says, no. And you don't realize it's because mum doesn't have enough money to pay the phone bill that week. You just think you're not worthy. You're not worth getting a car for. And those little things can just honestly shape how you live and create and manifest abundance the rest of your life. The thing is, you don't have to figure out what the thing was. All right. You don't have to figure out what it was to be able to overwrite it. You just have to continue to do the work around changing your mindset, building those subconscious beliefs. Because if you do it at a logical level and a conscious level often enough, that's when it starts to rewrite subconsciously. So as long as you're doing it often enough, you'll overwrite that past trauma, no matter how big or how small it was when it comes to money. And
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
like
key.
yeah, it's like going to the gym. I say to people in the content I create, it's like going to the gym and you're not gonna get a bigger body by just going there, once and then just doing like bicep curls. Like you're gonna do it repeatedly over an extended period of time, and then you'll build that strength. It's the same with your
And
mind.
then you've got to keep going regularly anyway. It's not like once you've got the body, that's it. Just like once you manifest the money, oh, that's it. I'm not going to have to think about. You still have to consistently be that person that likes to focus on what you want, thinks about more, because the bottom line is we're on this planet for growth. Like
Correct.
we came here to grow. So it's not like you have a goal, you reach that goal, and now I'm done. I'm set. That's it. It's always about growth. It's always about, what else can I create? It doesn't have to be material things, but it is about you growing as a person and and it could be about material things. It doesn't matter, but it is all about growth, whether it's personally, materially, spiritually, emotionally. It's all about growth.
100%. Totally agree with that so much. Next question I had for you too. So, what are some simple, or you've already given some techniques actually, visualization, meditation. So for someone that's created their wealth, actually, this is a good question that's came to me then. For someone that's created their wealth, you said about, well, then still going to that mental gym and still doing the work. So do you still do those, like you walk past the kitchen, you got the visualization affirmation sitting there or what?
I've moved beyond that. No. So it's like anything. Okay. Let me give you the analogy of you're overweight, you want to get fit, you go to the gym, you start eating healthy, you have to think about everything. You've got to write down the calories and the kilojoules and count it all up. And it's all very, but then you get to a point where it just becomes your life. You just naturally start to make better choices and you naturally move your body more. And it doesn't mean you don't go off the rails and eat a packet of Tim Tams and just do Tim Tam slams all day long, now and again, which I do. but you do, the majority of the time you're doing the right thing. So therefore the body is staying pretty good. It's the same with manifesting money. So at the start, you've got to be more mindful of what you're thinking, more mindful of how you're feeling, more mindful of the actions you're taking. But over time, I've created tens of millions of dollars and I don't have the book on the kitchen table anymore and flick through that all the time, but I meditate every single morning. I always, on the way I walk along the beach every morning. I love walking at sunrise. So I listen to affirmations as I go along there. I listen. I've got probably a million voice memos in my phone, which I listen to all the time as I'm walking. And for instance, one of the things I'm doing at the moment, there's a place here on the coast called Aussie Quantum Healing. And it's this amazing technology that is just blowing my mind. But anyway, I've booked in to do a whole month of it. And sessions go for 2 hours. And I listen to guided visualizations the whole time. And I do my own visualizations and I do all sorts of things. So I do it because I love it. Like I still get the same thrill from saying affirmations and doing visualizations as I did when I first started. I love thinking about what I'm going to create next and what I'm going to do and what I'm going to have and where I'm going to go. And so for me, yep, it's an ongoing thing. No longer the book on the table, but definitely an ongoing thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's the thing too, is once you step into loving what you do and what you can create using that imagination and it's so refreshing to hear someone else say it that's sort of got the life that they want, but they're still wanting to create more and more things and more opportunities and more. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
That's okay.
Yeah, so for you, what are some other things? So, what are some simple tips for someone out there now that can sort of start that journey towards more abundance? What's something that they can start doing?
Okay, so I think the very first thing you have to do is you have to get clear on what you want.
Yeah.
So what do you want? You know, people say, well, I want more money. Brilliant. You know, walk down the road one day and you'll find 5 cents laying on the footpath. That's more money, but it's probably not what you had in mind. So get really, really clear on what it is that you want. And when I say get clear, it should like excite you. Like it should make you kind of get butterflies in your tummy. Like you should feel like, oh, this is fun. You don't want it to be so big that it scares the pants off you, because if it really scares you, that's not the right energy to put out into the universe, put out into the quantum field, okay? Because your thoughts send the signal out into the quantum field, and your feelings, your emotions, your energy attracts it back to you. So if you're thinking about, let's just take money for an example. So let's say you wanted an extra, in the next 6 months, you would love to manifest an extra out of the blue $20,000.
Ooh.
So if you thought about that and you felt really excited and you thought about all the things you would do with that money and how you would feel when you had that money, and you got really excited, then that's a great number to focus on. If you thought about that $20,000 and it kind of freaked you out and you just felt like, oh my gosh, if I had that money, I'd probably blow it, or someone had asked for that money from me, or whatever reason, it just means you're so far away from energetically being aligned with that amount. Bring it back a little bit. Because the cool thing about manifesting is you can start small and you can just build and build and build and build and build. But when you start too big and your brain just says that is not going to happen, then it won't happen. Okay. So just focus on, get clear on what you want. And then you've got to align your body, mind, and spirit. That's the part that most people miss. So they know they've got to think about it. And so they do, they think about it all the time, the thing that they're going to have, the thing they're going to manifest, the thing they're going to create in their life. And they often feel it as well. So they understand they've got to feel that this thing is already in their life. They've got to feel the gratitude, the joy, the happiness, the love, whatever it is around having that, you know, dream, that desire, that goal, having manifested. But the thing most people miss is the last piece, which is action.
Yeah.
So I love what Wallace Waddle said in the book, The Science of Getting Rich. He said, by thought, the thing you desire is brought to you, but by action, you receive it. So thinking about what it is that you want puts the order out into the quantum field. Feeling brings it back to you, but by taking action, it moves from the metaphysical into the physical. It moves from the unseen into the seen. It moves from a wave in science into a particle, an actual thing in real life. So you've got to align body, mind, and spirit. You've got to align your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. So it's not about sitting on the couch at home, thinking about what you want, feeling if it's real, and then just watching Netflix all night, right? You've got to actually take action. And when you do those three things, when you align body, mind, and spirit, that's when the magic happens. It's all about taking that inspired action. And not every action you take is going to be the right action. You know, I've taken many actions that have been total disasters, but I still continue to take action. And some of them have just been mind-blowingly good.
Yeah. And do you feel like, I know for me, I've had to learn patience as well, because some people will do this for a month or two, and I've met them, you've met them, and I'll look around, that's not here, so they just give up and stop. Like,
Yeah,
it's also a game of patience as well. I
it
think you'd
is.
agree. Yeah.
And I think the biggest problem at the moment is like when I learned law of attraction, and I'm talking like what, 24, 25 years ago, I like people weren't talking about it then. People didn't like know anything about it. If you talked about the law of attraction, they thought it was all about dating. So so I think what happened is back then, because it was so new, I didn't expect something to happen overnight. But I think because everyone knows a lot more about it now, and there's so many stories about, I did this and the next day that happened.
Yeah.
It's like people are thinking that it's going to happen so quick. And when it doesn't happen in the first week, the first month, the first 6 months, it's like, oh, but you're right. It is about patience and it's about persistence. And you've got to have a dream that's so big and so strong and gets you so excited that you're willing to continue to do what it takes to make it happen. Because otherwise you will just go, oh, I wanted that money and it didn't happen, so it doesn't work. You've really got to have patience and understand too that sometimes the dream, the desire, the goal, the wish that you have for yourself, it doesn't come in the way you think, and it doesn't happen the way you think, because the universe has something bigger and better in store for you. So I remember when I was $100,000 in debt, and I found these things called slim slippers. So these tiny little slippers that were based on magnet therapy and reflexology, and you wore them and your heel hung over the end, and that whole thing, as well as the magnets and everything, did something to your chakras and realigned your energy, and you actually lost weight. So they were a real thing. You lost weight. I got them. I didn't do any extra exercise, did nothing, walked around the house with them and lost weight. It was great. So I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to import these from China and I'm going to sell 1 million of them and I'm going to be a billionaire. And so I contacted the people in charge and I built my own website and I contacted the TV station and said, I've got these things. And so they said, let's do a story. Anyway, they did this. Oh my God, I'm so glad I'm so glad hardly anyone saw it, because here's me in my gym gear wearing my slim slippers. Anyway, they said story's going to go to air on, I think it was Wednesday, and then something happened and it didn't, and they said, oh, it'll go to air on Friday, and it didn't happen, and then they said it's definitely going to air on Monday. And believe me, you will be inundated, because people are obsessed with money, love, and weight. So you will sell so many of these. Like, yay. So Monday comes. I was so excited it was going to happen. But what had happened over the weekend was the Bali bombings, the first Bali bombings. And they had the story about the Bali bombings in the news. Then they had my little segment, and then they had an hour-long thing about the Bali bombings. And no one was interested in my slim slippers. No one cared at all about the slim slippers. I think I got 6 phone calls, and that was it. And they told me, I'd be like thousands. So I was devastated. I was like, oh my gosh, like this was it. And anyway, sad story. But I also knew in that moment that maybe there was something else happening. And I'm so glad that didn't happen the way I wanted it. That, like, I could imagine I'd still be sitting there sending these slim slippers out to everyone, getting phone calls every day about them. They're not big enough. My heel hangs over the edge. Oh, I can just imagine it. So that never happened. It didn't happen. But what happened very shortly afterwards was when I discovered the law of attraction and when things started to change. And I wouldn't have gone down the path that I've now ended up. And I wouldn't have written a bestseller. I wouldn't have changed thousands of lives around the world. I wouldn't have started. I've got a life coach training academy where I train people to be internationally certified law of attraction coaches. I wouldn't have had all that. I wouldn't have transformed lives. I wouldn't be part of, I don't know if anyone knows Jack Canfield, who wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. He's got a sort of an exclusive group where it's invite only for sort of the top personal development teachers, authors, leaders around the world. I wouldn't be part of that group. Like, I wouldn't be doing all the amazing things I'm doing if Slim Slippers had worked. But at the time, it seemed like the biggest disaster to ever happen in my life. It was like the last lifeline, and it just self-imploded. And I was so selfish. Like, instead of being really worried about all the people and the Bali bombings, I was worried about me. Like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I look back now and think, thank God that didn't happen the way I wanted to, because look at my life now. So I always say to people, when things don't work out, do a happy dance. because it just means the universe has something bigger and better in store for you and you don't know what it is. Just like when people are in relationships and the other person is really, they just don't seem to be the person that they used to be and things are really bad and you're hanging on for dear life. It's like, no, the universe is making that person be that way because someone bigger and better is there waiting for you. But while you're hanging on for dear life, you can't even see this new person. So the universe is behind everything. The universe wants more for us than we ever want for ourselves. So we've just got to learn to go with the flow, appreciate our life, appreciate when things go bad, do the happy dance, move on, because life is always about growth, including financial growth.
100%. And that's really awesome advice and a really awesome story too. I actually wanted to see that I actually wanted to see the original interview. I wonder if you've got that on YouTube or something somewhere.
Oh God, I hope not. Because they had the before, the before and the after, I think.
That's a really awesome message too, Sandy, because a lot of people say that they've got that thing coming in, or they have something going on, and they'll say, "Oh, why is the universe doing this to me?" And they'll be all negative about it. And then people will say, "Well, things aren't happening. Things are always happening, whether you're aware of them or not. Things are always happening, and then something better is on the other side of whatever it is. It's just a matter of resetting that focus and resetting that
Yeah,
mindset."
and the problem, I'm glad you brought that up because the problem with most people is there are always things happening behind the scenes, and it may not be happening in the way you think, or it may not be appearing in the timeline that you think. But when you start to complain and start to think it's not happening
Yeah.
and what's going wrong and why me, in that moment, you actually push it away. It's like if instead you go, okay, it's time to do my happy dance, get excited. Maybe it's going to be even bigger and better than I thought, or something else is going to happen. Then you allow whatever was coming to come in an even bigger and better way. So it is really about your mindset and how you're thinking and how you react to things on a day-to-day basis. And meditation is going to help you to handle all of that so much better. Meditation is going to, it just smooths off the edges of the roughness of life. So yeah, meditation is really magical.
I agree. And a lot of people out there will say that I can't meditate. Do you hear people say that? Because I hear people say that.
I have days where I feel like I have just closed my eyes for 20 minutes and thought about what I'm going to do for the day. It's like meditation, the aim is kind of to, yes, quiet the mind, but I also think the aim of meditation is focus.
Yes.
So it's focusing on as little as possible. So when a thought comes in, instead of thinking about the thought and then thinking about how you're thinking about the thought and then thinking how, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about this thinking, it's like, no, just let it all go and just focus on just being present. And whether you've got your eyes open and you're focusing on a candle or something, or whether you've got your eyes closed and you're focusing on a mantra, which is what I like to do, or whether you've just got your eyes closed and you're not focusing on anything and you're just letting thoughts come in and then flow out. But meditation, it's like exercise. Sometimes you'll have good days, sometimes you'll have really crappy days. So, sometimes you'll feel like you've really got into that beautiful sweet spot of meditation, and sometimes you feel like you've done nothing but think about the shopping list for the day. So
yeah. I spent while having tech trouble a couple of hours ago, I spent a bit of time out in the sun. Like even something like that can be meditating. It doesn't have to be laying down or like even just going for a walk along the
it doesn't
beach.
have to be in the lotus position, fingers like this. It's just it can just simply be and I think the beauty of this time that we live in is everyone's becoming so much more aware. Like people talk about mindfulness. Mindfulness and meditation are very much intertwined. When you're mindful and you're present in the moment, that is a form of meditation.
Correct.
That is learning how to focus, and that focus is what then allows, as I said before, that it's like the pipe cleaner between you and the universe. It just gets clearer and the static all gets removed and you get an idea or a thought or inspiration to do something. I always say you get inspired ideas, and some of my inspired ideas have made me millions of dollars just from coming up with a simple idea. I remember when The Secret first came out, and we couldn't buy it here in Australia for whatever reason. I think there was an agreement between the producers of The Secret and the people who backed it, and they weren't allowed to sell it in Australia. until it aired on TV. And I had seen this trailer that went for, I don't know, a minute or two. It didn't even say anything about the law of attraction, but I saw the trailer and thought, oh my gosh, this has got something to do with what I do. I just feel it. I know it. I want to be able to watch the movie. Anyway, I ended up got an idea to send an email to the secret people. And I sent the email and I said, I think what you're doing is amazing. I think it's going to transform lives. I love what you're doing. I want to send you a gift. And I get an email back from Rhonda Byrne, who's the producer of The Secret. And she was living in America at the time. She said, I don't know how it happened, but I got your email. We get thousands of emails come, but I never get any. But somehow I got your email. I would love a gift. So I bundled up my book, and I had a program, which I still have the program, but it's no longer the folder with the CDs in the plastic sleeves and all the printed, stuff. Bundled that off to her. And then she contacted me and said, did you watch The Secret and then write your book and do your program? I said, no, I haven't even seen The Secret. So she shipped me over a copy, and I had a secret party at my house, and we all watched The Secret. And I contacted her and said, why can't you sell it in Australia? You've got to sell it in Australia. She was like, we can't, we're not allowed to. I said, well, why can't someone else sell it in Australia? She said, they can. And I said, well, can an American company bring it into Australia? She said, sure. I said, I own an American company. I'll do it. And I made like $3 million in, I don't know, 7 or 8 months, just from an idea, taking action, having an inspired idea, send them an email. There was no, I'm going to see how I can make money. It was just like, I want to thank them. I'm going to thank them for bringing out this movie that I haven't even seen. I just feel like it's really good. So I had an inspired idea from that email. We had that connection, sent them a gift, came back to me. And actually they ended up, believe it or not, filming me for The Secret, which you didn't ever see because I didn't appear in it, because they'd already created the movie. There was someone in there they had to take out. They filmed me to fill her place, but my energy is a bit high compared to the person that was in there, so it didn't really flow. But the bottom line was I was able to import The Secret, sell the movie to thousands of people around Australia, transform so many lives, but make a whole lot of money at the same time. So. And that was from one little inspired idea that wasn't even to do with making money. It was just to say thank you to someone. So you've got to act on your ideas. Some of them are great, some of them, not so great, but you'll never know unless you take action.
Exactly. And it's so true that I got, my biggest lesson was putting something on a vision board, right? And having the timeline. And then it was unrealistic because it gets to that time, be like, shit, where is it? It's like, so then I got better at, my brother and I moved up to the Sunshine Coast in the last 12 months. We had that on our vision board like 12 months prior or 2 years prior, but we never had a time frame, and it happened. So
me, my
lesson was
time frames can be good, but they can also be make you too stressed.
Yeah, you get attached.
You've got to work out. Yeah, if you get too attached to the timeline, then like you say, where is it? Where is it? What's happening? It's getting close. Oh my God. So sometimes timelines aren't great, but sometimes they actually force you to take more action. So it just depends on how you navigate the whole timeline thing. I like to put a time on something. Otherwise, I think, well, the universe might get lazy and give it to me in 5 years. I want it now.
So what would be a realistic time frame for someone that's starting that creation journey, and then for someone that's already got it? And what would be a realistic time frame for probably both sets of parties?
Well, it depends what they're manifesting. They want to manifest $5,000. They want to manifest $5 million. Like, the bottom line is both of them can be manifested like that.
Yeah.
Like, they can. It comes down to the person, because the universe has a gazillion ways it can bring you what it is you desire. But it comes down to the person. It comes down to their entire history about how they've thought about money or manifesting and where their mindset is. It comes down to what they're experiencing right now. So that's like saying how long's a piece of string. But the bottom line is, if you are consistently, like if you're really clear on what you want, you're consistently focusing on it, you're consistently feeling as if it's already in your life, and you're feeling the feelings that you would feel as if it already had manifested, and you're taking consistent action, then you'll start to see signs along the way that it's happening. You'll start to experience things that may seem insignificant, but it's actually the universe telling you you're on the way. And let me give you an example. When I was still struggling, and I had a friend say that they were going to come up from Brisbane and we were going to go to the money markets together.
Oh, awesome
and
market.
Great market.
Yeah.
I had no money, but I wanted to go to the markets, and so I thought, okay, I'll go and I'll buy a mango or two, because I love mangoes, but they're so expensive, so I'll just buy 1 or 2 mangoes and that'll be all I spend. So we go to the markets, and we're standing there at the mango stall, and I look down and there's $20 sitting on top of the mangoes. And I look to my left, look to my right, look at everyone's standing there. They can see what I can see, but no one is actually seeing it. Like, I'm the only one that can see it. And so I bent down, picked it up, and I just kind of held it in front of me in case anyone said, oh, whoops, I dropped that. No one said anything. And I was like, thank you, universe. $20 then seemed like, 2 million.
Yeah.
I was so broke.
Yeah.
But I loved the fact that I was able to manifest that money. And it just made me feel like the universe is on my side. The universe is going to bring me more. I'm doing the right thing. I'm consistently focusing on what I want. Thank you, universe. So, you may not manifest the big thing out of the blue, but there'll be little signs. And the idea, if you're being mindful, you're being present, and you're being aware, then you'll notice those little signs. You'll notice those things that happen. That is basically the universe saying, it's on the way. It's coming.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I like your story you put in the book too about getting that seat upgrade, because when I flew down to Victoria for my birthday a month ago, I just finished your book and the same thing happened to me. And I did a year. I went, thank you, universe.
I know.
I wanted to tell you
that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Because too often people aren't grateful as they go through their day. Like, one of the things I love to talk about is gratitude. And if you actually spent more time being grateful for what you have, what you're experiencing now, and even come from the place of imagine someone living in a third world country where they literally have nothing. If they were to be transported into your life and they could experience your life as you live it now, they would be living so far beyond their wildest dreams.
Yeah, correct.
And too many people go through their day just taking everything for granted. I always say, every now and again, do a gratitude marathon. So, you open your eyes in the morning, you're grateful that you've got this beautiful bed that you get to sleep in. You've got a pillow, you've got blankets, you're nice and warm, you've got a roof over your head. You get out of bed, you've got carpet on the floor, you've actually got walls around you. Like, just go throughout the day just being grateful for everything, because most people, there are so many billions of people that do not get to experience what we do. And anyone that's listening to this, you've got internet, you've got a computer, you're a million miles ahead of so many other people. You need to start to be grateful for it, because the more you're grateful, the more you will attract things into your life to be grateful for, because gratitude is a very high energy.
Yes,
and it's
a
very attractive energy. And so when you spend time being grateful, you will have more to be grateful for.
That's a very awesome way to finish the podcast. I couldn't even ask you for a better way to finish it. Sandy, thank you so much for all that you shared today. Was there anything else you would like to share before we wrap things up? Maybe where people can find you and some stuff you want to coming
that'd
up?
be great.
Yeah.
Sure. So you could go to wildlywealthy.com. That's my website. You can find out about what I do and how I support people. Or you could listen to my Wildly Wealthy Women podcast, where I love to talk all things money, manifesting, and mindset. And I have actually been on a break for more than a year, and I'm about to start the podcast again next week. So
Cool.
I'm excited.
Awesome. So this is coming at a good time. Then you might get some new, fresh listeners from my.
Absolutely.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And also, is your book there too? Can they find your book on there
look,
too?
I've actually got a book here.
Oh, perfect.
I don't know if it'll turn up back to front. Is it back to front?
Mine looks different to that. Mine's the white cover.
See, mine is the most recent cover. Actually, listen to it on Audible. It's great on Audible. I'm obsessed with Audible. I love listening to books, and then I buy the book, and then I highlight in the book, and I listen to the Audible as well. So I'm right into. I buy so many books. I think I should
Has
get
that book,
shares in Amazon.
have you rewritten that book?
That is the updated version.
The
Yeah,
updated
so it is
version, yeah.
updated. So if you listen on Audible, you'll hear all the newer
Okay, because
stuff I
I've got
got in there.
the white cover. So which version was that?
That was, well, from when it was first written up till probably 3 years ago.
Oh, that's not too bad. Yep.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sandy. That was an awesome podcast. I hope my listeners got a lot out of it. I hope people that have followed you got a lot out of it too. And we'll have to connect again, considering you're on the sunny coast. So that was
Yeah,
awesome, Sandy.
absolutely.
Thank you so much for all you've
Thank you
shared
so much
today.
for having me.
No worries. And this has been the Breaking Free podcast, everyone. I'll see you guys again real soon. Some more awesome guests. So thank you very much. Sandy and I are over and out. Cheers.